Let's see. Can you hear me okay? Good. Am I? Yes, you should be able to hear me. I'm assuming you can. No, you cannot.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but you can't hear me, can you?
Now I can,
Okay.
but you're awfully low.
Let's see. Is that any better?
Uh,
Let me try this. Let's see. I don't want that. I want that. Let me go to settings. Um, Input volume is all the way up. Are you not hearing it?
you're muffled. Let me put my headphones on. Hang on. I don't know if it's my laptop speakers or if it's just I'm losing my hearing. Um,
Could be a little of both. If it's like me, it's probably a little of both.
okay, try again.
Can you hear me now? Is that any
Uh,
better?
you're still coming through. That's an AirPods. All right,
Oh,
right now. Oh, okay, yeah. Now
can you
you're
hear me now?
yeah.
Okay.
So it must be my speakers. All right, let me fix my light. That is not right. Sorry about that.
That's all right. I'm having to do the same. I'm sort of like adjusting a few things here. Let's see if I do that. Yeah, not bad. I've got way too much light over there, but that's okay.
Does that look
Let's do
better, or
that. What was that?
is that better, or that
Second one, not that one.
that one?
That one's better, I think. The other one you've like washed out a little bit.
Yeah, my lighting's not great. Let me.
Yeah, you got a little Walking Dead thing going when you do that.
That's a little better. I'm at home today, so the lighting's not quite. I mean, if I face the window, that's fine. I may have to redo my office. Anyway, yeah. So this one is Andrew Hinkelman,
Yep.
the coach.
So hitting record here. So we are doing something new for you guys who are listening in the YouTube world, or actually, I guess also watching, is we're going to add another episode each week. So this is going to be our Friday challenge. This is a new thing we talked about. We really enjoy the challenges. We like giving them to you guys and throwing those out there. We think it's something that does very much help build better developers. And so what we're going to do is this will be our first one. We're going to talk about what has come out, what you have listened to this week, and give a little bit of thoughts on that, and then have a challenge related to that. So we will dive in, or we're going to do this entirely YouTube, right? I think we decided we
Yeah,
were going to keep this all YouTube. So even better. So we don't have to do like, you don't have to listen to the normal crap or anything like that. Although we'll probably do a little bit of the normal crap. We'll do it like a little differently. Um, I think we will. I think we'll just like, I'm going to wing it because that's what I do best is improv. Second City and all you guys, Annoyance Theater. Yeah, props out to you guys. So we're going to wing it this time and have sort of an intro and then dive right into it. This week, if I haven't already mentioned, we talked to Andrew Hinkelman. We talked about coaching. I am pulling up our little summary, which AI is so awesome at doing for us while my wife puts her ears in so she doesn't have to listen to us. And there we go. Let's see. I do want to like focus my eyes a little more up on you. And just sort of like, we'll just sort of cover like things today. I think we'll follow my lead. So Andrew Hinkelman, yeah. So we talked about really some good stuff in here with coaching. And that is where we're going to get into it a little bit, like some little like our thoughts on each of our thoughts, and then we'll get to the challenge. So we will dive right in. As always, I'm just going to start by introducing myself. I'm Rob Broadhead, one of the founders of Developreneur. If you haven't figured that out yet, look up there somewhere where we've got like lots of stuff from us, or out on these different places over here where you're going to find all kinds of links to tons and tons of content. I'm also the founder of RB Consulting, and I think I'll go with like my business. This would be sort of our thing. It's a good thing, bad thing. Let's do like a business learn thing recommendation that I got this week. I was actually sitting in, I'll give one that's a little different. I was sitting in a networking mastermind kind of thing. And one of the things they talked about, they went through this time, was finances. Just spent an hour basically talking about what you should do as a business owner. And I think that this is something I want to throw out there to everybody is regardless of what time of the year it is, unless you've just done it like in the last quarter probably, if it's even been more than 3 or 4 months, sit down and just do a quick 15, maybe 20 minutes top assessment of like your business, your side hustle, the financials of it. And by this, I mean, like, do you know what's coming in? What are the revenue streams coming in? What's coming in? What's going out? Are you taking care of the things you need to take care of along the way? Are you caught up on like insurance if you're dealing with insurance? Are you caught up on tax payments if you're supposed to do quarterly tax payments or something along those lines? Have you recently looked at benefits that you may be able to take? Look for like tax deductions for your kinds of business. If you're in software development, depending on how you're set up, look into the software development or I think it's called maybe software development, but it's the research tax benefits that you can get out of it. I've got a customer that is saving thousands and thousands of dollars each year with part of what we're doing because he's using this tax write-off. So take a look at that. We're not tax accountants by any means or anything like that, but I think it was a good little reminder. It's like everything else. Every part of your business you should check into on a regular basis. And I'm going to check in with my co-host right now so he can introduce himself.
Hey everyone, my name is Michael Mosh. I'm also one of the co-founders of Developreneur. I'm also the founder of Envision QA, where we help people build software, write tests, and improve their business. Let's see. So, business focus of the week, not the challenge, right? Or
Correct.
okay, we're winging this, guys, so bear with us.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess this week this is coming out in February. So for those of you trying to follow the videos, these are coming out after we've recorded them. But we've recently had a nasty ice storm here. So getting back out and talking to people and re-networking has been kind of my goal this week in talking to people. And one of the biggest challenges I'm hearing from a lot of people is the impact to the business because of the storms. Even if you're remote, you lose that face-to-face customer experience, and it can be demoralizing. A lot of people were really struggling to try and get through that rough time, and now we're kind of in the aftermath of that, trying to rebuild, I guess, or get back to normal. And that was kind of this week, talking to people, trying to reconnect and get things moving again. But to your point, though, about the finance thing, it's kind of interesting you mention that, because I do it about once a month. I have it budgeted to where I do all my finances, both personal and business, once a month. And tools can be very helpful for that. So if you have like accounting tools like QuickBooks or Wave apps or things like that, look at the tools, because the tools generally have some type of graph or some type of monitor to give you an indicator of how you're doing. If you're still doing spreadsheets, that's fine, but make sure you have some graphing or some indicator that highlights when things aren't on par, when you're like a little more in the red or a little more in the black. Give yourself some indicators. Excel is great. You can write some quick formulas for that, and it'll pop for you. So don't just rely on numbers themselves. Give yourself some visuals so you can quickly look at like a dashboard and make your life easy.
So diving into our guest for this week, Andrew Hinkelman. Before we even jump into this, I want to throw something out to you guys for feedback. One of the things we've talked about is doing maybe a monthly roundtable where we may grab a couple of our guests or some other ones and just have a discussion. And we're sort of throwing some ideas around and want to see if that would be something that would appeal to you guys. It would probably be on YouTube. I don't know if we would do it on the podcast as well, but we'll throw it out to them. The listeners, the non-viewers, the ones that actually still can see because their eyes haven't melted looking at our ugly faces, and we'll see where that goes. But we're always looking for new ways that we can help you guys out, and then maybe take more advantage of some of the people that we've talked to. Back to now, Andrew Hinkelman. He's a coach, and one of the things that he focused is it was professional and personal development being very much tied together, which I think is something that to me, that was something that very much resonates with the developreneur point of view. If you go read the book, the developreneur software book, as I actually just got from one of our other past guests, that he said, yep, he read through it. He's got some great questions and some comments around it. And so I do recommend it. It'll probably get updated at some point because it's now a couple of years old and AI and some of these things have changed. But I'm more than happy to field questions around that about like, how does this changed in the last, the few years since that, actually now several years since that book was actually originally published. And I think that was one of the things I really got out of it, that I like that his approach to a coach is much more down to earth, was more grounded, was more of this is a whole, holistic, whole person coaching approach that he took. I will add a caveat to this before I toss it over to Michael, is that coaches can be very useful to you. And we'll talk about this a little bit in the challenge, I think, but they can also be very, very expensive. And by expensive, I'm not talking like hundreds of dollars or even sometimes thousands of dollars. It literally, a lot of them, it's going to be, probably low end. You're probably talking $15,000 to $20,000 to spend a few months with a coach. Some of them are that much per month. And if you go listen to like some of the big people that are out there, trying to think of a few of them. I think Smart Passive Income, I think he used a coach for a couple of years that really helped him out. I'm trying to think of a few others that I've mentioned. I think John Lee Dumas, I think of Entrepreneurs on Fire. I think he had a really good coach. If you go back into some of their material, you can hear about their experiences, and that maybe will help you out, give you a little better idea of like what it would be like or what the potential is if you work with a coach. The rest of it I'll save for the challenge, and I'll get, what are your thoughts on our conversation with Andrew?
So, first, I've never really talked to a coach before, so this was kind of an interesting conversation we had with Andrew. It was interesting because a lot of the points he touched on initially at the beginning were a lot of things you and I have talked about a lot, like eating the frog, trying to limit our tasks as creep, focus on those primary tasks. But the thing that I found illuminating was as we got into the conversation, he talked about doing those like emotional intensity testing to try to figure out where you're at with your emotions, where your focus is. And I'm actually trying to find one of those that kind of makes sense for me because I actually went to a networking meeting here recently that talked about doing the same thing, that's what their business plan does. They come in, they do that first. And then the other things that, as we are talking to Andrew, that kind of hit home was we started talking about like the burnout, when we're losing focus, when we're drained. I like some of the tips he threw out, like he mentioned Brian Tracy, eating the frog, like you've constantly mentioned, but then setting keystone goals. But then really to look at yourself. And he talked about pausing, trust yourself. You know what you need to do. You know what the problem is. You don't need to be going out and searching unless it's a problem you don't have a solution to. You do need to do some research, but trust yourself, get out of your head and really try to identify what it is that you really need to be doing, not just doing the busy work. Because when we're going through the week and you're working mornings to evenings and it just feels like you're not moving, the bar's not moving, things aren't getting done. Are you really working on the right things, or are you working on things that are needed but not the important things? Like those are lower priority. You can move those to the end of the line and change your focus priorities. So those were things that really resonated with me because I've been going through a lot of different projects. I've been working, burning the midnight oil for almost 2 years now. And it's hard because, we reach those points where we lose that self awareness. We could lose that energy and we are driving, but we're not hitting the destination. We're just kind of endlessly going around the loop and we just can't figure out how to find the exit.
And that goes very much to a conversation I had with AI a few months ago now. And was just looking at a lot of stuff, and I was building some things out, and I was sort of assessing where did I want to go next, and ended up actually built my own little time tracking app that now, like most of my stuff that are my own, has grown a good deal. But it's like I have a time tracking app that's just straight up pretty easy to use for me. It has a lot of information. Shoot me an email, rob@rb-sns.com or info@developreneur.com. Either of those, if you want a copy of it. It's just a Django app, simple MySQL database. I can give you all the stuff. You can do whatever you want with it. But basically, I put my time in. I have statuses of just very simple, like, am I doing it? Is it sitting there? Is it in progress? Is it done? I track hours. I have what is called assets, basically, which this has really helped me. And I think is really good from a doing the right thing, is that it has assets that are basically like, if I'm doing a product, if I've got a task, it's either a one-time thing that I've got to do, it's repeatable that I need to be like working on a script or an automation or something to automate that eventually, or it's extractable and there's some sort of asset like a website or a document or a template or something that I'm building out of that. And this really helps me because what I can do is part of this is I've got KPIs, I've got all these reports that are based on like what work did I do in the business, on the business, what was overhead, and then what did I do on my assets? Where have I been working on those this week and in prior weeks? And it makes a big difference because it now has me much more focused on doing stuff related to an asset, doing stuff related to an outcome. So it very much is a why focus for your task. It's like, okay, you're doing this. Well, why are you doing it? Is it moving the ball forward? And even though I'm currently just like each day I sort of throw together tasks for the next day, but even when I'm looking at that, and as I'm just, it takes a little bit of time. It takes an extra few minutes a day to enter my time and stuff like that. But also looking at how I did each day, I get to see like, where did I go off the rails? And some of it is okay because it's something where I thought I was going to spend an hour or two, but I ended up spending 4 hours building out this, great thing. But it gives us, to me, it really does. It gives you that focus. It's sort of like the short answer, I think, for anybody that doesn't want any complex tool is sit down with your to-do list at the beginning of the week. Is just write down like, maybe 3 to 5 things that you want progress on. And then not just like a checklist, but like, what does progress look like for this week? And then as you're going through the week, make sure that you are moving towards those goals. You can do that on any stop during the day, during the week. You can just be like, is this moving the ball forward on the goals that I need to? And if it's not, then adjust. And I think that, especially these days, is one of the biggest things to overcome. Now, I don't want to go too long. But I will let you. Do you have any thoughts on that before we jump into the challenge?
Yeah, the one thing I kind of want to bounce off of you based on that, because you shared the to-do list. I've loaded it up. I just have not, unfortunately, had enough bandwidth to spend too much time digging into it. And it sounds like I really need to carve out. That needs to be one of the things I kind of move up in the priorities a little bit to hopefully reset things a little. But talking about, getting stuck or, spending too much time on things, how do you identify, even with your to-do task, this is just kind of following up with what your example there is, when you're spending 4 or 5 hours and you're looking at what you need to do, and what you need to do may seem simple. It may be like a small task, but it is taking longer than expected. How are you identifying when it's scope creep, when it's you're not quite focusing on the right thing, or is it the problem itself?
Well, the first one for scope creep is it's usually for me, that's pretty, um, because the way I've gotten that I do stuff is it gets pretty easy, pretty quick to figure out if it's scope creep. And it's sometimes it's by design. There's a lot of stuff that I will put in and be like, okay, I'm going to go through this, and I get back to it later, and it's like, well, what does this really look like? And as I'm doing it, I realize, you know what, this needs to be. I need to apply this differently than I thought. I'll give you a simple example is I had like I'm doing a lot of working on the business, and one of the things I did was build. Let's just talk about this just a little bit ago. I was building these micro proofs because normally on a site you're going to have these proofs, especially if it's you've got your call to action, you've got this. This is why this is good. This is why you should do it. And what I've basically done is I've taken projects that I've done and work that we've done and turned them into these micro proofs of basically like we do this, or we had this problem, this is how we solved it, this is what the outcome was. So it's a nice simple thing. And I started out originally it was just going to be like bang bang bang, like three little one-liners. And as I started working on it and I started to build those out, I realized that no, it made more sense as being almost like a an emblem or a badge or something like that, that I could do a little bit more with it. And the next thing knew, I was like, I had built out, a dozen pages, each one with this micro proof, and I've got some images, and I've, cleaned it up and put a little stuff in there and call to actions and stuff in. So it's something that I can snapshot. I can use a lot of different ways. And it took me what was going to take me 15 minutes. I'm like not done with it yet because it grows a little bit as I'm going through it, but I'm probably going to be 3 or 4 hours into it. But to me, I was thinking about this, like, do I really want to go down this? What is the end result? When I started going into that and I started saying, well, I could do this and this and this, the first thing I did was after I was like, well, I could do all this, is I stepped back and say, it's like, is that valuable to me? What does that look like when it's done? And is that something I want to have? So that's part of like, I think addressing scope creep. But the other thing is when it goes back to it goes back to your why, it goes back to your requirements. It goes back to what does success look like, or what does forward motion look like this week? If you're working on something and it doesn't look like forward motion, and I'll give you a great one that is a hard one to get into, is like for work for customers, I have a lot of stuff where I'm working on something and I'm looking in there, I'm messing with the page or messing with some logic, and I see something that is either I could make this better looking, I could make it more user friendly, I could make it faster, I could make it more efficient, something like that. And those may have value, they may not, but that's the first thing I'm gonna do is like, okay, while I'm in there, what's the cost? Is this just going to take me like a minute, which has its own problems? Is this going to just take me a minute, or is this something that that has some value that's going to take some time? Always assume it's going to take some time. So then it's like assume the minute is actually going to take an hour, and then what can I do in that hour, or what can I do in that extra day? Is that really going to move the ball forward? And if it's not moving the ball forward for what I need right now, even though it could be prettier, it could be faster, it could be all of these good things, if that's not on your current focus, then create a ticket, make a note, whatever you do, backlog it, and you can come back to it later. I know there's a cost of coming back and all that kind of stuff, but it's usually, unless it literally is just like you see it, it's a typo or something that's a super simple fix, or it's something that could cause problems later that you can't really it's faster to do it right now than it is to write yourself a ticket and then try to remember how to track it later, then I would say go ahead and dive into it. Otherwise, punt it. Take care of it. But it's like there's a lot of other thoughts that could go in that. That could be a couple of episodes in itself, probably. It's like if you're truly of the developmeneur mindset, is when do you move and when do you punt? When do you fish? When do you cut bait? As far as all of the stuff that you can do. And this is a daily thing for me because I have so many things I can get done. I have so many ideas and so many directions I can go. I have to find ways to time box them. Just put something in and say, okay, I'm going to give myself 15 minutes. And if that's up, then okay, that's the time I put into it.
Yeah, that's I guess kind of the hard thing for me because it's like I've got so many things that still need to be done, And it's like the one thing I'm working on making forward progress on, but it's just taking so long. Is I have a form, and I've got some annoying little fields that are on the form that aren't lining up, like they aren't mapped correctly. And figuring that out, it's like, oh yeah, they'll take a couple. Has taken a couple hours to get it all figured out, and I know, and it feels like I'm not I'm not. It's like, am I spending the time wisely? Am I doing this right? Am I still moving forward? It's just frustrating because you have to find it. It's just so many forums are not fun to begin with, but
Mhm.
it's one of those where it's like I've time boxed it, but the time box has gotten bigger just because the minutia of the stupid forum is just a pain. So it's just one of those where things are moving forward, but it's hard not to feel defeated because it's taking a lot longer than it feels like it really should have taken.
Mapping fields is the most tedious and painful thing in almost every project. I don't know how many times I've dealt with integrations and migrations and updates and all that kind of stuff. And anytime where you're moving data from point A to point B, if you don't get the mappings right and you're having to like guess them or something like that, it can be very, very tedious and very, very time consuming. And you just have to be sort of ready for it. I will say that I have found um, if you can phrase the problem right, I found AI to be very helpful with that. But it very much means that, which is probably a good thing, is it really forces you to ensure that your input is clean and well defined and your output is clean and well defined. So you can say this isn't matching to that, and it can help you find it. But you have to be able to, you have to have enough knowledge about it going into it to be able to do so. A second set of eyes sometimes will help as well. And that's sort of what AI just gives you is it's like, okay, look at these. Why are these not matching up? And sometimes it's it's like a typo, or it's like you use a underscore in the name here, but you don't use it here. I use those a lot for some of those kinds of bugs. That brings
Whereas
us to,
AI, I was just going to say, AI actually did indicate that it was named something, but it was not named what the field was.
well, you got to watch that. It'll false suggest stuff. Sometimes it's like, I want to help.
Oh no,
And,
it found it. It's
oh,
just
okay.
the field itself on the form was not identified as what the field on the form was.
Mm. Yeah, you got to be consistent there too. You got to watch out for that kind of stuff. I got bit by that the other day where I had a typo and I had moved something and I was like, why is this broken everywhere? And I finally looked at it and AI never caught it. I was looking at it, I was like, oh, this thing is grabbing the wrong value here. It's a bad mapping. And it just propagated. That's also why you got to watch out. If you automate AI, that kind of stuff, if you've got a broken process, it'll give you more broken results at the end. The challenge is back to the coaching thing because we have drifted a little. Um, I think the challenge of the week is to, and this goes a little into some of the conversations he had, is when we were talking about like how do you decide if you want to coach? How do you find a coach that's a fit for you? The challenge I throw out there is spend a little time and think about what are the things that are bugging you? What are the problems that have been dogging you for a while? And it may be technical, it may be business, it may be personal, whatever it is. It's like, what are the things that have just been on your mind for a while? And for a while is very much up to you. It may be weeks, it may be months, it could be years. Um, get yourself at least three that are like ongoing problems. And then with those, is it something that you are working through? So it's a problem, but you've got a path forward and you're working your way through it. Um, is it something that you need to solve? This is really important with coaches. Like I talked to a coach that wanted to do, we talked about lead generation. And the more I thought about it, I was like, I don't need to learn how to do lead generation. I can go hire somebody to do that. That is not something that is a good use of my time. So is this something that you need to solve, that is valuable to you, that it furthers your business or your career for you to know that? Because if not, then don't worry about it. You can hire somebody at some point or something like that, outsource it. And then finally, is it something where you're stuck, where you don't know the way forward? If it's something where you don't know the way forward, that's where you may want to look at a coach, talk to a friend, do something. And that's, I think, where I want to go with the challenge is the actual challenge is find just one thing where you're stuck and spend a little time on it this week. Doesn't matter, like I said, talk to your friend, talk to your parents, talk to your kids, talk to your dog. If your dog will talk back, you need something there. Shoot us an email, shoot other people an email, whatever it is just like try to reach out to somebody else and see what happens. See if you get some good advice, and potentially even, maybe go search for, like, do a Google search or something, like, for coaches on that topic or that solve that problem, or maybe even counselors that solve that problem. And, maybe you can make a little advance. Thoughts on that as the challenge?
Yeah, and while you're going through that, as I mentioned before, like Andrew said, before you really get into that, take a second, pause, you know, really look at yourself, trust yourself before you just start going willy-nilly. It's like, oh my God, everything's wrong, and you're just going to AI or certain things. One of the biggest issues, as Andrew mentioned, with AI is you're going to get a lot of affirmatives, like you're doing everything right. That's not necessarily true. So take a pause before you go too crazy with AI or some of these searches, and really try to identify what the issue is, and then start looking for those coaches.
Yeah, with coaches or anybody like that, like, I will give an example that we had a coach for dancing, an instructor that was very positive. It was like, "You're great, you're awesome, you're beautiful, that was the best ever, blah blah blah." And we even told her, we said, like, "Don't. That's not what we want. We need to know where we're broken so we can fix it." And we ended up moving on to another coach, and she loved the idea that the first thing we said was like, if it's broke, we want you to fix this. We don't want you to tell us how awesome we are. We want you to tell us how bad we are, because we know there's a lot to learn. And I think that is key for any of these kinds of things, is like, whether it's a coach, whether it's a mentor, whatever it is say, like, where am I going wrong? Where can I do better in this? Because if they say, no, you're great, you're awesome, then they're useless to you. They need to be able to give you actionable advice as far as what you can do better. And when you're looking, like, find somebody that's done it if you can. Find somebody that you look up to, that that has done it, that is going through it. Even if they haven't solved it, then maybe they can at least help you with some ideas of how how you will not need to go about solving it. Closing thoughts as we do this first episode of our, of whatever the heck, the Friday, I don't know, the reality piece or something like that. Friday challenge, we'll call it that, or we'll get a better name. We'll use AI to, like, market it up and make a better name for it. Here, I'll do that while Michael's thinking about it.
So yeah, we had talked about doing this, and I kind of like it. It gets us back into kind of us kind of doing the review of the episodes, giving our experiences, and I love the challenge ideas, because it not only is a challenge for you guys as the listeners, but it's also challenges for us. It kind of makes us stop and be like, oh, am I doing this right? Do I need to reflect, and do I need to do this challenge? Because, we're all growing, we're all learning, and I see Rob laughing over there, so I guess AI came back with something else. But yeah, it's self-improvement, self-help are things that everyone needs, even if you don't think you need it, or it's like, oh, this isn't for me. You still need to reflect, you still need to grow, and the only way to grow is through reflection.
And this goes back, you've got to take a step back. You will never do that when you are down in the weeds. When you are, like, just going, and you'll deny it. I know, because I have at times. So I'm like, no, I'm fine. I think I'm not down in the weeds. And I finally take a breath, and I'm like, I was down in the weeds. I missed something. So this goes to exactly what it is. It's like, so this was AI. This tells you this is exactly what we're talking about. Sometimes it's too positive. So I asked it, give me some names. And the first thing it said, love this concept. It fits developer perfectly, practical, reflective, and forward moving. It's like, fine. I'm really tempted to tell AI to be like, stop being positive, be more negative and challenging. But anyways, so it could be, here's some of the names just to throw these out, and we'll think about it. The Developerpreneur Weekly Challenge, that's pretty easy. Developerpreneur Ship It Saturday, which is an interesting little thing. The Weekly Builder Challenge, One Improvement, the 1% Build. Oh, that's an interesting little concept for us to go with. The execution sprint, reflect, build, reflect, improve. The weekly reality check, the builder, which I'll just say that actually he stole that because we have a tech reality check at RB Consulting that we're using. So he even said this would be aligned with the RB thing. The builder debrief, which is interesting. The dev momentum show, very good for this season. Build week, the dev challenge loop. My top three for Rob specifically, it said, I don't know why specifically for me, one improvement, the builder debrief, or build week. And he even says, I'm going to assume it's a he. I'm sorry, I gendered my AI because I call him Chip. If this is 10 to 15 minutes, a weekly recap, and ends with a clear challenge, then one improvement is very strong. It aligns with our newsletter that went out, which if you haven't subscribed, I don't know if we have that. Subscribe to our newsletter, go out to developandoor.com, subscribe. We're actually starting to put a lot of really good information in this. I say that honestly as somebody who's been doing the newsletter for years, and I'm really enjoying what's being, the research and putting some of the stuff into the newsletters. I'm enjoying reading them these days. So hopefully check that out. It comes out once a month, and it's a nice, easy one for you. And then it gives me a lot of other stuff. So I think that's a good thing. We'll think about it. Maybe we'll give it like a nice title and maybe it'll give us like a nice, cool image that we can use and stuff like that. Just like everybody else, it's like, burning through all of these cycles and resources by generating cool pictures of themselves, which I was really against until I started having it generate some like generic stuff for me. And I'm like, oh, that's actually not bad. I guess I'll use it, but I use it professionally and for business, not just, okay, not always, just for just for myself. Parting thoughts before we wrap this one up.
Uh, I'm gonna have to muddle through that list because that gave me a bunch of ideas. My mind's like going many different directions there. I like it. I'll pick one and I'll throw it out there as the title, and we'll play around with it for a while. I This is just a great example of how AI can help you, but it can also send you down rabbit holes that
Yes.
this is where time management is important because you could get yourself in trouble just by throwing an idea out to AI, and then next thing you know, you're uh, kind of not doom scrolling, but you're AI scrolling because you're like just going crazy with AI.
Yeah, it's AI needs guardrails for what it tells you, for what you're asking it, for where it goes, and you need guardrails in using it so you don't end up effectively doom scrolling or creating, 15,000 new products and things like that because you sort of can. Um, but that being said, we're going to wrap this one up. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. I don't know if this is always going to be this long. We've rambled a little, but we'll see how this goes. Feedback would be awesome for this. Um, we don't have all our normal stuff. So as always, like leave us comments, shoot us an email, info@developandoor.com. You can go out to the developandoor.com site. There's a contact us form. Feel free to use that. Check out, if you haven't been there in a while, we have totally revamped that as of the beginning of the year. So Developandoor site is very new, very different, and we've got a lot of new features and stuff like that. It should be a lot easier for you to navigate. And we even have somewhere, we have a link to it, all of the episodes. You can see all of the episodes, all of the seasons, everything out there, and then there's links to it. I think the links all work. I haven't like gone all the way back, but I think all the links at least get you to the blog page for that podcast. So you can actually see all nearing 1,000 episodes of the podcast. And at some point coming soon, we're going to try to do that with the YouTube site as well, as get some navigation through that, because we are now, I think we are over 300 articles and things that are out on YouTube, most of them half hour or longer. So we have a lot of content. As always, thank you so much for hanging out with us and give us great feedback. Hope you have a great day. Hope you have a great weekend. And we will talk to you next time. Bonus, you get to see me try to find the stop recording button.